Welcome to this introduction to citing and referencing using the APA style. We will cover the basics to get you started. For more information, you should refer to the referencing and citing link on the Toi Oho Mai Library webpage. Alternatively, you can ask the faculty librarians at your local campus. There are several important reasons why you must reference and cite your sources in your assignments. They are to provide evidence to support your argument, to acknowledge other people's work and research, to show your marker that you have used credible, reliable, relevant resources in your research, to provide access to the research sources you used so other people can also use them. Plagiarism is when you copy and paste someone else's work and claim it as your own. This is unacceptable in all academic writing. There are also many different referencing styles in use around the world. All of these are slightly different. Here at Toi Oho Mai, we follow the style of the American Psychological Association, better known as APA. We use their 6th edition. However, in certain cases, it is not necessary to cite and reference all of the information you use in your assignment. If something is commonly known, either within your subject area or in general, then you do not need to cite and reference it. For instance, most New Zealanders know that there are a lot of Māori living here. However, Stats New Zealand has conducted research to determine the exact number, and this is how you must cite that information in your work. Most New Zealanders know that our longest river is the Waikato. As most people do not know how long it is, if you want to include the exact length in your work, you need to cite your source for that information. The information on the left does not need to be cited or referenced. The information on the right does. There are 2 parts to citing and referencing. In your assignment, you will need to include both in-text citations and a reference list. The reference list is a complete list of all of the sources you have included in your assignment. Do not include any sources you have read but not used in your writing. It is included at the end of your assignment on a new page titled References. There are strict rules for formatting your reference list. You should list each source in alphabetical order by the author's name, and a hanging indent should be used after the first line of any reference. In-text citations are used in your writing to let the reader know when you are including information you have got from somebody else's work. They provide a link to your reference list where the full details for that source is listed. They are formatted according to specific rules and generally include the author's surname and year of publication. There are 2 different types of in-text citation: paraphrasing or direct quoting. Paraphrasing is when you use the general ideas of someone else, but it is written in your own words. Quoting is when you use their exact words. When you direct quote, you must also include the number of the page on which those words are written, or the paragraph number in the case of a website. Quotation marks must be used to indicate where the quote begins and ends. In both cases, your citation should include the author's surname and the year their work was published. The following example shows how these should be used in your work. There are 2 ways to cite your source when you paraphrase, either by including the citation at the end of the sentence or by using the author's surname in your sentence with the publication year in brackets directly afterwards. If you include a quote, you must use quotation marks around the exact words you are using. Your citation most commonly appears at the end, and includes the page number or paragraph number for where those words appear in your source. This is what a reference list should look like. This example includes a variety of different resources. You can see that each is formatted slightly differently. However, a few things remain constant. APA states that the order of any reference must be author, date, title, publication information. This order must be strictly followed for all types of resources. As you can see, the list is ordered alphabetically by the author's surname. The hanging indent allows you to easily identify the author's surname and distinguish one reference from the next. The Toyohomai APA Quick Guide is available in your library and also on the library website. This will always be the most up-to-date version. You should refer to it whenever you are citing and referencing, as it provides examples for the most commonly used resources. Be aware of the slight differences in the formatting of each, and remember to use the punctuation as shown. The left-hand side of the table shows how to format in-text citations for a resource, and the right-hand side shows how to format your reference for that same resource. This is an example of the information you would use to reference a book, showing the order of each part of the reference. Capital letters should only be used for the first word of the title and subtitle, and for proper nouns. Use city of publication and state abbreviation for books published in the United States. Use city of publication and country for books published elsewhere. The country needs to be spelled out in full. Remember to include all of the full stops, italics, commas, brackets, and colons as shown. This slide gives examples from the Toi Ohomai Quick Guide of how to reference various types of books or book contents. Be aware of the slight differences in the formatting of each, and remember to use the punctuation as shown. This section also shows you how to reference and cite a resource with more than one author. Use this as an example of how to reference other types of resources with multiple authors, for instance, journal articles. This is an example of a book cover or title page. On the right side is the copyright page for their book. You will need to use both to find the information you need for your reference for this book. It has two authors, a title and a subtitle, and is the 8th edition of this book. It was published in 2015 by Oxford University Press in the city of Don Mills in Canada. Here is the reference for this example, along with some possible in-text citations. Note the formatting used. This is an example of the basic format of a reference for an article in a printed journal. This is the format for an electronic journal article with a DOI. Where possible, look for a DOI for your article, as that will make it easier to reference. This last example shows how to reference an article only available on the internet. Please remember that only the first word of the article and subtitle are capitalized, along with any proper nouns. The title of the journal or magazine is italicized and every main word capitalized. The volume number is also italicized. Here are some examples from the Toi Ohomai APA Quick Guide showing how to reference and cite journal articles, both print and electronic. Be aware of the slight differences in the formatting of each, and remember to use the punctuation as shown. This is an example of a journal article from the library webpage with a DOI. It has one author, a title, a DOI, and it was published in the New Educational Review in 2016, Volume 45, Issue 3, on pages 137 to 150. This is what the reference would look like for this article. Along with some possible in-text citations, note the formatting of each. These are examples of the general format for websites. There may not always be an individual author for a website or web page. You can use whoever is responsible for creating the website as the author in your reference or citation instead. We call this the corporate author. This information may be found either at the top or bottom of the website, and it is normally the group that owns the copyright. Again, only the first word of the title and subtitle are capitalized along with any proper nouns. This is an example from the Toi Oho Mai APA Quick Guide showing how to reference and cite websites or web pages. The date used for web pages is usually the year of the last update. If there is no date on the web page, use the format as shown above where the letters N, D, are in brackets. Be aware of the formatting and remember to use the punctuation as shown. Here is a page from the Ministry of Health's website. There is no personal author, so use the Ministry of Health as your corporate author in your reference and citation. Use the year of the last update of the page unless this is not given. Usually this can be found at the bottom of the page. If not, apparent use N. D. The title should be italicized in your reference, and only the first word of the web page title and subtitle are capitalized along with any proper nouns. Copy and paste the website address into your reference. This is what the reference would look like for this website. Along with some possible in-text citations, note the formatting of each. Be aware that when you directly quote something from a website, you must put the number of the paragraph you took it from in your citation, not the page as with most other sources. We hope that this has been useful to you in learning how to reference and cite your work. Please remember, the Toi Oho Mai APA Quick Guide is your best source of referencing and citation information for the most common examples. If you have any questions, however, either email us or visit us in your local campus library.